Hello everyone. I wanted to do a sort of think aloud video because I don't really have an exemplar for this yet. So I wanted to kind of go through my process for doing Bloom's questions. So the first thing I'm going to do is watch the documentary. So you're obviously going to be watching the documentary yourself. Okay, so you're going to imagine that I've watched the whole documentary, which I have. I'm just not going to do it in front of you. And then I'm going to take a look at these categories for Bloom's, and I'm going to write some questions that I think would be useful to try and get what I think is the meaning out of the documentary. So you're going to be doing the same thing. What I think I will do is I'll start a new document myself so that I can write my questions, and then I am later going to put those questions into the Google form. So each of you is going to be going through this process. If there are 3 of you in your triad and you have chosen the film We Were Children, then you are going to each make questions for these. So each of you is going to make questions so that your colleagues or your fellow students can have a variety of questions to choose from each of the categories. So the first category is remembering. So my first question for remembering is going to be what Indigenous group is the focus of this mockumentary? Now, remember when you're doing the questions, they should be answerable. So make sure that you have kind of an idea of what the answer to that question would be. In this case, we're talking about the Indigenous group is in Australia, so I might go and find the exact name of the particular group here. I chose a mockumentary to do this because it wouldn't be one that you had chosen. All right, so I've got a remembering question. And then I might just take a look and see yes or no answer. No. This is not a great question because it's pretty easy to Google a question, but still I think it's important to know who the group is, so that might be my question. Understanding. All right, so here are some of the key words that go along with understanding. Comprehends, converts, defends, distinguishes. So I think that for the understanding question, I might say something like, I'm going to use a verb. All right, explain is one, and that's a pretty good verb. And then another verb, extend, generalize, distinguish. So I might say something like, explain why the director, writer, the tree barbecue area used satire to make a statement about the treatment of Indigenous people in Australia. So that's my understanding question. And then for the applying question, apply something to a new situation. So apply, change, compute, construct, demonstrate, discover, manipulate, modify. So I might use one of these things. Maybe predict is one. So maybe I want to use the word predict. Predict how you think a settler might, oh, I'm sorry, my typing is terrible when I try to type and talk. So predict how you think a settler Australian might feel about their portrayal in the film. Okay, so, and then I will go through and make questions for the other ones, analyzing, evaluating, and creating. So once I have those questions complete, then I am going to go back through and take a look at good and bad questions and see if I can adapt those. So you want questions that make you predict, pose comparison, interpret why something has happened, have more than one possible answer. So remembering it's hard to get a really good question based on those criteria, but the understanding is me asking, the understanding question is me asking the student to kind of infer a bit and predict and explain all of the things about why the use of satire or a mockumentary is why the writer or director might have chosen that. The applying question kind of makes you think and explain. I might add this actually. Why do you think the settler might feel this way? Give direct examples or evidence. So it's usually, when you're looking at fixing a question, it's usually a matter of adding a little bit more here. So now I'll take these questions and I will put those questions into the form. So first you're going to post those questions to your triad group, and we're going to use the same discussion group as we used for the choosing of the mockumentary, and kind of go through with those questions and make some suggestions about them, so that all polite suggestions, but for example, for this question, what Indigenous group is the focus of this mockumentary, there might be a way to make that question a little less obvious to answer, and so I would put that question along with my others into the discussion and then ask my triad members or my partners to kind of come up with some suggestions. So once you have done that and put those questions through some peer editing, then you're going to click on the form and add the answers here. So each of you will fill in this form. So my name, Leanna Cote, the name of the documentary is Barbecue Area. The link, and I would give the YouTube link for that. Oh, I see there's a double question there. I'll have to take that out. And then paste in my understanding, applying all of those questions. And they will go to hit submit, and they'll go to a spreadsheet. And that spreadsheet then will let me pose the questions back to you. Now, once I have those questions together, I'm going to post those on Friday afternoon. And then you'll be able to take a look at those questions and decide which ones you want to answer to submit to me. So the assignment has kind of two parts. The first part is that you are giving me the questions you've made up, and then the second part is that you are answering the questions that other people in the class have about a documentary. So it's a way for you to have found a documentary, watch someone else's documentary, and then answer questions on their documentary. All right, I hope this helps you out a little bit. I'm sorry that I don't have much of an exemplar this time, but I think that'll give you an idea, and at least you can take a look at some of the questions.